Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner, for being with us. I'm pleased that you noted in your testimony about the whistleblower program being successful. Whistleblowers are essential to helping the agency root out wrongdoing in the commodity trading industry and returning billions of dollars to the taxpayers. As one of the senators who led the original effort to establish the program in 2010, the program has accomplished much. However, in many ways, it has at times become a victim of its own success due to the defects in the way that the CFTC whistleblower fund is set up. There may not always be sufficient funds to pay whistleblower awards. Last Congress, I got passed into law a short-term fix to keep it going. The law ensures that the CFTC program continues to function even when expenses exceed the program's fund balance. There should be a more permanent fix. So my question to you is, if Congress isn't able to pass a longer-term solution to the whistleblower office, it will be reduced the effectiveness of the agency's enforcement efforts. Do you support a permanent extension of the CFTC Fund Management Act? And if not, why not?
Senator, thank you for the question. I wholeheartedly support a permanent fix, and I thank you for your leadership in taking steps towards fixing that. And so you point out, the success of the program has been its biggest weakness because we've been able to pay out huge sums of money because of whistleblowers and because of the effectiveness and the strength and the expertise of our enforcement program. And I have no reason to believe that that success will not continue in the future. But because of that continued success, we run the risk of that fund being depleted quicker than it can be restored. And what that really does then is put at risk both the whistleblower office and our Office of Customer Education and Outreach, which are two critical components of what the CFTC does to protect investors, to get information out to investors about the risks associated with our market. So a permanent fix would be extremely welcome, and I think would continue the long-standing success of both the whistleblower program, but the CFTC's enforcement program as well.
I think you may have answered part of my next question, but I think I'm going to ask it anyway, and there might be something you can fill in. In your testimony, you mentioned that the amendments to the statutory provision described the permitted uses the Customer Protection Fund would allow for a new program so that Americans have the knowledge and tools to protect themselves from fraud. Can you elaborate more on the new programs you're envisioning if such amendments occur?
Thank you, Senator. It's a very important question, and I was very intentional in including it in my testimony because currently, and putting aside the limitations of the funding mechanism, our Office of Customer Education and Outreach is limited to using the funds for fraud or manipulation, which are extremely important because it gives us a tool to share information with the broader public about potential fraud or manipulation. However, what we've seen over the past decade or so is that there are a lot of new and additional tools that can be focused on education and advocacy, which are not clearly defined within fraud and manipulation, that I think would benefit from an expansion in that authority through statute. So with that expansion, and to the chairwoman's point about a growing retail participation in our market, expanding that remit from just fraud and manipulation to education and advocacy would allow us to use these funds to do more boots on the ground advocacy with local groups, I've said this in the past, with VFWs, ARRP, state regulators, to just make sure folks understand the risks associated with CFTC markets.